Welcome to Zoology Classroom. In this video, we are going to discuss about heart rate and cardiac output. So what is heart rate? Heart rate is also known as pulse rate. Heart rate or pulse rate is the number of times our heart beats per minute. So normally, when a person is taking rest, his heart rate will be around in between 60 to 100 beats per minute. But depending on our age, depending on whether we are doing exercises or not, or depending on our fitness level or our health conditions, the resting heart rate may vary from one person to another person. So the normal value is not fixed for all persons. The normal pulse rate, normal heart rate varies from one person to another person depending on their age, exercise, fitness levels, and general health conditions. And coming to newborn babies, their heart rate will be around 120 beats per minute. And another concept today we are going to discuss is cardiac output. So what is cardiac output? Cardiac output is the amount of blood that our heart pumps through the entire circulatory system in a minute of time. So the amount of blood put out by the left ventricle is generally considered as a stroke volume. So what is stroke volume? Stroke volume is the amount of blood that comes out of left ventricle. Usually this blood coming out of left ventricle will be supplied to all organs in the body except lungs. So this amount of blood coming from left ventricle is called as stroke volume. So in a single beat, in a single heartbeat, how much amount of blood comes out of the left ventricle is considered as stroke volume. So stroke volume and the heart rate. So in each stroke, how much blood is coming out of left ventricle into how many times heart is beating in a minute of time. That will decide the cardiac output. So by definition, cardiac output is the amount of blood that our heart pumps through the entire circulatory system in a minute of time. So that's why we have to multiply the stroke volume with heart rate. Then we can get cardiac output value. In normal adults, the normal cardiac output will be around 4.7 liters per minute. So this is equal to the total entire blood volume in our body. So that means the total blood which is present inside our circulatory system will be take a complete circulation in a minute of time. And here in this slide we can see the what is the formula to calculate cardiac output. So CO stands for cardiac output, SV stands for stroke volume, HR stands for heart rate. So cardiac output is equal to HR into SV. Under normal conditions, SV in an adult of 70 kg weight, the stroke volume will be around 70 milliliters. So the normal range for stroke volume will be around 55 to in between 55 to 100 milliliters per minute, depending on various changes or various age factor, heart size factor, otherwise exercise factor. So depending on all these factors, it could be vary from 55 to 100 milliliters per beat. And stroke volume, heart rate is around 75 beats per minute in 70 kg adult. So the range, heartbeat range. So heart rate or heart beating range can vary in between 60 and 100. So we cannot say that 75 is the normal one. If it is below the 75 or if it is above the 75, it is abnormal. It is not like that. So we can consider 60 also normal, 100 beats per minute or 100 heart rate is also normal. So our heart rate can be in between 60 and 100. If it is above 100, if it is below 60, when we are taking rest. When we are taking rest, it should not be less than 60 and it should not be more than 100. So if we are doing some hard work, if we are exercising, if we are under stress, if we are experiencing some disease conditions, in such conditions, it may go below 60 or it may go above 100. So that is due to the various factors. But when we are taking rest, the heartbeat range should be in between 60 and 100. So by taking these calculations, our cardiac output could be in between 4 liters to 8 liters per minute. If it is 60, it could be 4 liters. If it is 100, it could be 8 liters per minute. So that is the cardiac output range. So mean cardiac output is, as we have seen in the earlier slide, it could be 4.75 liters to 5.25 liters, depending on various factors. So by this formula, CO is equal to HR into SV, cardiac output or resting cardiac output will be calculated. And what is the connection between exercise and maximum cardiac output? So during exercises, our heartbeat may go up to 150 beats per minute. And stroke volume also, usually when we are taking the stroke volume will be around 70 milliliters per beat. But when we are doing exercises, it could go up to 130 milliliters per beat. So taking these things, if the heartbeat rate is 150 per minute and stroke volume is 130 milliliters per beat, the cardiac output when we are doing exercise go up to, it may go up to 19.5 liters per minute. So that means this is 4 to 5 times higher than the normal resting cardiac output. And what is cardiac reserve? So cardiac reserve is the difference between maximum cardiac output and resting cardiac output. So maximum cardiac output is 19.5 liters per minute. Resting cardiac output is 5.25 RV. In some persons, it may be 4.75 milliliters, 4.75 liters per minute. So the difference in between least or resting cardiac output and maximum cardiac output is considered as, is called as cardiac reserve. So the higher the cardiac reserve, the more capacity of the heart. So that is the cardiac reserve importance. And there are some abnormal heartbeat conditions, heart rates. One is bradycardia, another one is tachycardia. Let us first see about bradycardia. So normal heart rate, as we have seen already, it is around in between 60 to 100 beats per minute. In bradycardia, when a person is taking rest, his heart rate will be below 60 beats per minute. So bradycardia means slow heartbeat. So in some persons, like athletes who are under some regular trainings, in those persons, usually their heart rate will be very low. So due to the regular exercises, their heart is adapted to beat slowly. So that is a adaptation for their athletics performance. But in normal people who are not trained athletes, if it is below 60, that is a disease. That disease is called as bradycardia. And what are the symptoms of bradycardia? Symptoms of bradycardia include weakness, fatigue, dizziness, fainting, chest discomfort, palpitations, or respiratory distress. So in some persons, the heart rate may be low, like below 60, it may be low, but these symptoms are not there. So if no symptoms are there, but heart rate is below 60, then that is not a problem at all. So we can take it light. But in some persons, heart rate may be normal, it may be above 60, but if they are experiencing these symptoms that we have seen above, then that is called as relative bradycardia. So there is no problem with heart rate, but they are feeling these symptoms. If they are experiencing these symptoms, that condition is called as relative bradycardia. And what are the causes? So we can categorize the causes of bradycardia into two categories. First one is inherent causes. In this inherent causes, abnormalities may be in SCA node or AV node in the auricles. And if the abnormalities in this SCA node and AV node are very serious, they may require a pacemaker transplantation. And in some other conditions, ischemia to the heart muscles may be there. Ischemia refers to the low blood supply to the heart muscles. When blood supply is very low, then heart muscles will not receive enough nutrients and enough oxygen. That results in the slow heartbeats. So that may be one reason. Or some diseases of the heart vessels or heart walls also may result in this bradycardia. These two are called as inherent causes. And coming to external causes, some metabolic disorders, pathologies of the endocrine system, electrolyte imbalance, like if there are imbalances in sodium, potassium, chloride ions, and neurological disorders, autoimmune pathologies, overprescription of beta blocker drugs, Some persons with heart diseases or high BP, they will use beta blocker drugs. If these beta blocker drugs are taken in excess quantity, that may also result in bradycardia. And recreational drugs. So some people use drugs for just for recreational purposes like ganja, all those things. So they also may result in bradycardia. And even prolonged bed rest also can result in bradycardia. And what is the treatment? So treatment to this bradycardia depends on the what are the causes of that bradycardia. And if the bradycardia condition is very severe, that means their organs in the body are not receiving enough oxygen. In such conditions, they may require oxygen supply through pipe or ventilation. And second abnormal heart rate condition is tachycardia. So tachycardia, in this tachycardia, when a person is taking rest, his heartbeat will be around 100 beats per minute. Usually when we are feeling some stress or when we are fighting with someone or when we are doing exercises, under those conditions, if it is above 100, then that is not considered as tachycardia. Why? Because that condition is temporary, that will stay for some time only. But in normal conditions also, regularly, even when you are taking rest also, if your heart rate goes above 100 beats per minute, then it is considered as tachycardia. So tachycardia is normal in pregnant women, individuals who are experiencing some extreme stress or mental tensions. It is normal. But if the situations come to normal, that means after the delivery, the heartbeat rate of the pregnant woman comes to normal. So this is not called as a serious disease. So, and tachycardia may be triggered by stimulation from the limbic system, which is present inside our brain. Disorders of the autonomic nervous system also may result in this tachycardia. The symptoms can be seen in tachycardia: fever, anemia, hypoxia, hyperthyroidism, hypersecretion of catecholamines, and some cardiomyopathy, some disorders of the valve, and acute exposure to radiation may result in this tachycardia condition. Symptoms include dizziness, shortness of breath, lightheadedness, rapid pulse, heart palpitations, chest pain, or fainting. Treatment depends upon the region, what are the regions, and the treatment may include medications, implantable cardioverter defibrillators. So these cardioverter defibrillators, they will decrease the heartbeats, and ablation or surgery also may be required in some persons case. So correlation between the heart rate and cardiac output. So as the heart rate increases, stroke volume also increases. So cardiac output is directly dependent on heart rate and stroke volume. Stroke volume and heart rate, if both these two increase, cardiac output also will increase. But this is not permanent. So in some conditions where cardiac output, heart rate increases up to 120 beats per minute, the cardiac output slowly, gradually increases. So in between 120 beats per minute to 160 beats per minute, there will be no further increase in the cardiac output. So the maximum cardiac output will be seen at 120 beats per minute only. So after 120 beats per minute, up to 160 beats per minute, there will be no further increase in the cardiac output. So in some cases, if the heart rate of the person goes above 160, then what will happen? Cardiac output decreases. Why? Because at 160 beats per minute, what will happen? The heart is not receiving the blood. Before the heart chambers are filled with blood, the heart is pumping trying to pumping the blood out. So due to the higher number of beats per minute, there will be no time for refilling with blood. So that will result in the decrease in the cardiac output. That's why you might have heard in some cases in news also sometimes that a very young individual, a very young person who is doing exercise in the gym dies suddenly of heart attack. So we cannot expect such a young person and who is regularly goes to gym, how can he get a heart attack? That is due to this problem only. If they are doing rigorously, if they are doing exercises rigorously, that may result in the increased heart rate beyond or above 160 beats per minute. So our heartbeat rate it should not never go above 160 beats per minute. So ideally, the persons who are doing exercises, they have to monitor their heart rate. They have to check their heart rate. They should see that their heart rate should not increase above 160 beats per minute. If it is above 160 beats per minute, due to the cardiac output decreasal, the persons may die of insufficient oxygen supply to the heart muscles. So in that way, heart failure may result in the persons, young individuals who are doing rigorous exercises. So this is very, very important. People who are doing rigorous exercises have to keep this in mind. And another condition is called as broken heart syndrome. It is also called as Takotsubo cardiomyopathy, or transient apical ballooning syndrome, or apical ballooning cardiomyopathy, or stress-induced cardiomyopathy, or Gebrochenes heart syndrome, stress cardiomyopathy. So these are the different names given to the broken heart syndrome. Reasons for this broken heart syndrome include the death of a loved one, or an emotional breakup or loss of income, or foreclosure of a home may lead to this broken heart syndrome. So what are the effects of this broken heart syndrome on heart? Congestive heart failure due to a profound weakening of the myocardium or heart muscles, and this may lead to acute heart failure. Suddenly, some people will die of heart attack. Why? Because suddenly, if unexpectedly their husband or their wife dies due to heart attack, the life partner, another partner also dies of heart attack. So that is due to this broken heart syndrome only. And lethal arrhythmias, so irregularities in the heart beatings may be there. Rupture of the ventricle may be there. So due to over pressure on the ventricle walls, it may rupture, and that ultimately results in the death of the individual. So some business school is their CAS Business School, which is located in London. They have published a study results in 2018. According to this study, so within 1 year of the death of a loved one, women are more than twice as likely to die, and males are 6 times as likely to die as would otherwise be expected. So women are more prone to undergo this broken heart syndrome within a 1 year of time. So in this slide, we can see the factors that influence heart rate. So in this, the factors, all these factors are increasing. So all these things, they will increase the heart rate. So release of norepinephrine hormone, and increased rates of firing during the exercises by proprioceptors, chemoreceptors. They will receive decreased levels of oxygen and increased levels of hydrogen ions, carbon dioxide, and lactic acid. Baroreceptors, they will receive decreased rates of firing, increased falling blood volume or pressure. Limbic system anticipates physical exercises or strong emotions. Catecholamines, they are epinephrine and norepinephrine hormones are called as catecholamines. If they are increased, that will also result in increased heart rate. Increased volume of thyroid hormones also result in increased heart rate. Increased calcium ions, decreased potassium ions, potassium ions, decreased sodium ions, and increased body temperature. Stimulants like nicotine, caffeine, all these things, they will increase the heart rate. And the some factors that decrease heart rate includes acetylcholine, epinephrine, norepinephrine, they will increase the heart rate. Acetylcholine, it will decrease the heart rate. And the proprioceptors, they will decrease the rate of firing after the exercise also, heart rate will be decreased. So, and increased levels of oxygen, decreased levels of hydrogen ions and carbon dioxide, increased rates of firing by baroreceptors, anticipation of relaxation by the limbic system, and decreased levels of epinephrine and norepinephrine, decreased levels of thyroid hormone, decreased levels of calcium, increased levels of sodium ions and potassium ions, and decrease in body temperature. All these factors, they will decrease the heart rate. So, and epinephrine and norepinephrine, both these two hormones are called as catecholamines. So they are very, very important component in sympathetic stimulation. They will bind to beta-1 receptors in the heart muscles. They open sodium and calcium ion channels, and they also open the ligand-gated channels so that the heart muscles functioning will be initiated. The rate of depolarization is increased. So the threshold is reached more quickly. In that way, heart rate will be increased. And the period of repolarization also will be shortened. Massive releases of these sodium and potassium ions, they are coupled with sympathetic nerve system stimulation. Sympathetic nerves stimulation will result in this more release of sodium and calcium ion that will result in the stimulation of these heart muscles. And if these catecholamines are released in more quantity, they may lead to arrhythmias, abnormalities in the heart beatings. Thyroid hormones also, they will increase the cardiac rates and contractility. The more the thyroxine hormone, the more the heart rate. So the impact is longer duration than catecholamines. So catecholamines, epinephrine, norepinephrine, their effect is very short time. The effect will stay for short time, but thyroxine hormone effect will be will stay for a long time. And T3 enter cardiomyocytes, and it will alter the activity of at the genome level. So that's why the activity will be stayed for longer time. And similar activity will be there by this thyroxine hormone like epinephrine and norepinephrine. So excessive levels of this thyroxine hormone also may result in tachycardia condition. And calcium ions also, they affect both heart rate and contractility. High calcium results in the high heart rate and high contractility. So, in the short QT interval and a widened T wave can be seen in the ECG with these high levels of calcium ions. And extreme levels of calcium ions may result in cardiac arrest. So, if calcium ions concentration is very high, extremely high, that may result in the heart arrest or heart attack. And factors that decrease the heart rate, sodium and potassium levels, if they are altered, hypoxia condition, acidosis, alkalosis, hypothermia, all these things, they will decrease the heart rate. And potassium also has a greater influence on the decreasing of heart rate. Hyponatremia and hypernatremia. So low levels of sodium and high levels of sodium also, both these two things also not common or not healthy. They may result in tachycardia. Severe high hypernatremia. So if the sodium levels are very high, that may lead to the fibrillations, which may cause to cardiac output to cease. So if the high levels of sodium are there in the blood, that may result in the cessation of cardiac output also. And severe hyponatremia, if sodium levels are very low, then that may lead to bradycardia and other heart arrhythmias. And hyperkalemia, hypokalemia, low levels of potassium may lead to arrhythmias, and whereas hyperkalemia, high levels of potassium, may result in the weakening of the heart muscles, and heart may become flaccid, and ultimately heart failure will result. And hypoxia also leads to decrease in heart rates. Severe changes in the pH also will lead to the denaturation of the enzymes that help in this muscle contraction. And slight hyperthermia, so slight increase in body temperature increases the heart rate and strength of the contraction. Hypothermia slows the heart rate and strength of the heart contractions. Excessive hyperthermia and excessive hypothermia, so extreme high temperatures or extreme low temperatures, both these two things also will result in the death of the individual. So this is about cardiac output and heart rates. Now I am unmuting you. If you have any doubts, you can ask. Now you can unmute and can ask if you have any doubts. Now, Yamana, doubts?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Navanita? Shirisha? Anuradha, doubt same level?
No, sir.
So Monday,
Sir.
yeah.
Sir?
That's okay.
వినిపించట్లేదు